I remember the picture from the first BBC game that I did, and the other two match officials are walking out really focused, and there's me just with the biggest smile on my face.
What's your name?
Lauren Whiteman.
And your age?
31.
And your current referee level?
So I'm a 1WAR.
And how long have you been a match official?
7 years.
Why did you become a match official?
For me, I had quite a few people sort of in my life that were referees, played for many, many years, and I kind of hit a point in my life where I struggled a little bit with sort of self-confidence, resilience and stuff like that. So I thought, what better way than put myself in front of 22 plus people who will tell me that I'm wrong, tell me that everything I do isn't the right thing to do, and kind of hoped, I suppose, what I'd develop in those games would just help transfer into day-to-day life, I suppose.
Whistle or flag?
I had this tough decision last year, but right now it would be flag.
Why?
I just think the games and the opportunities I'm getting at the moment are kind of very surreal and opportunities I never thought I'd get. So to give those up, to kind of focus on the whistle, I think would just be quite a hard decision to do. And I do find it a little less pressure, which does help.
So you said at the beginning, 1WAR, for those who are not referees,
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So I'm an assistant referee on the Women's Super League.
And what was it like getting that phone call to say you'd been promoted to the Women's Super League?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal. So for me, I got promoted as a referee to the Women's Championship the same season I got promoted as an assistant referee to the Super League. So I knew I was going to be an assistant referee on the Super League, subject to passing the fitness test, and then had a selection day where I had to pass the fitness test first on 2 lots of antibiotics with really bad wisdom teeth, which wasn't ideal. But got through that, and then had the phone call that told me that I was successful to be a referee on the Women's Championship. So that also cemented being on the Super League as well. So yeah, it was pretty surreal. Had one season doing lines on the Championship, and then to get that, I was in a meeting with my boss at the same time as well. So unfortunately, he found out before my dad did. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
How did you feel walking out for the first time on a TV game?
I think people do ask this a few times, but I think probably the build-up before the game is the worst bit, because you just think, my dad's going to be at home and he's going to know that I've got a decision wrong before I do. Or, everyone's just going to be watching, never took my shirt in, right, what colour am I going to be in? And you just panic about things. But I remember the picture from the first BBC game that I did, and the other two match officials are walking out really focused, and there's me just with the biggest smile on my face. I just thought that was what I was always going to do, just go out and enjoy it. But to be fair, as soon as the whistle goes, genuinely, it's really weird. You just don't think about it. You've got a job to do, and kind of afterwards you maybe think about it and search the channels and check everything. But yeah, I just tried to really enjoy it, the first one.
Proudest achievement in the past 12 months?
Quite a tricky one, this one. I think probably first TV games has to be one. I had one on Sky and one on BBC last year, so they had to be one of the proudest moments. Kind of, I think I stayed at my mum and dad's for one of the games because I was down there, and it just felt really weird to get up with them and have breakfast, and then 4 or 5 hours later they were sat at home watching me on the telly. So that was just really weird. So that was pretty cool. I refereed on the Women's Championship at St James's Park in front of 13,000 people. So that was pretty wicked. Had them chanting the referees and Mackham, so I had to Google that at half time to find out what that meant. So I now know what that means. So it is offensive from up there. So that was pretty cool. And then last year I also got to do I think it was the FA Cup quarter-final and the League Cup semi-final. So they were pretty cool games to have. So I'd say they were pretty proud moments last season.
Target for 2026?
I don't tend to try and set them. I think for me, if I set a target, I don't know, it's either something you achieve and then you think I was always going to do it, or it's just something to let yourself down and not do. So I try and just take every game as they come. So I think just my main target, I think being the second season on the Super League, is just build on what I used last season, build on what I learned, teams, grounds, experiences, and I suppose just build on that and have an even better season this year.
Best refereeing story?
I wish it was a better one, but I think it probably was my first TV game. So my grandma's in a care home, so she went Christmas last year, and obviously Sky, she can't watch it, they don't have that in the care home. BBC, they've got it. So spoke to the care home and said, this time can you make sure it's on? So they have like a little lounge, and then the dining room's there as well. So they told me that I think it was something like a 12:15 kickoff, and they eat dinner at 12 o'clock. You know what people of sort of that age are like. And apparently she wouldn't go to the table until she'd seen me walk out, until she'd seen the TV. And luckily we did actually get quite a lot of game time. They sort of saw us walk out, they did the coin toss, so she got a bit, but she wouldn't eat her lunch until she'd seen me walk out. Football, she wasn't bothered. As soon as the game started, that was fine. It was dinner time. But yeah, to me that was pretty cool. I think just knowing she was watching, but then also to kind of find out she wouldn't go and have a lunch, even though it was 12 o'clock, until she'd seen me on the screen.
Besides from football, are you involved in any other sports?
Yeah, so officiating wise, so I do tennis as well. So I think it's about third year now doing line umpiring. So I managed to do 1 year at Wimbledon, which was pretty cool. Sort of 2 weeks, kitted out in Ralph Lauren, very posh. Done Wimbledon like as a fan a few times, but to kind of do it as staff, I suppose, was pretty cool.
What are the similarities between umpiring at Wimbledon and officiating in big stadiums?
I think the pressures are probably quite similar. Again, kind of, everything's on you to get that decision right. And the margins, obviously, you look at VAR nowadays. I know obviously we don't have it in the women's game at the moment, but decisions can literally be make or break by centimetres, millimetres, and I'm sure you've probably seen Hawkeyes at Wimbledon where it is literally a millimetre in or out. So I suppose the pressures and the tight margins are very similar. I think probably a big difference for me is refereeing. You've got to be on it all the time. In a game of tennis, you could maybe not make a call on your line for, well, I actually think at Wimbledon, my first hour, so you do an hour on court, hour off. For the first hour, I didn't make a single call because it never came near my line because there's 9 people. So you all have your different line. So again, you could go an hour on court and just make one call. So I think that's probably the difference in terms of refereeing. You're constantly making throw-in decisions, especially as a referee. You've got fouls, you've got non-fouls, offsides, throw-ins, corners, goal kicks and stuff. Tennis, you could literally be there for a long time and not have anything to do, and then all of a sudden you've got a quick decision to make. But yeah.
Is there anyone who's gone the extra mile on your journey?
I think there's always like your obvious people, obviously the family, and things like that. Made a lot of friends through refereeing, which has been really nice. But I think 2 people probably stick out for me. So my current coach, Paul Graham, one of the best men I know. I just think I'm not the easiest person to deal with. I've got a lot of specifics, how my brain works and how I like things, and Paul's just really adaptive with that. He's really supportive with that. Had a bit of a knock of confidence a couple of games ago, and he knows how that will play in my head, so he knows just to give me a call before my next game and be really supportive with things. So yeah, Paul's been a huge part of my journey sort of for the last couple of seasons. And then a guy called Lee, so he was one of the first people I met through refereeing. We actually met at the Derbyshire FA Grassroots Awards. He was the runner-up for Referee of the Year, but unfortunately for him, I was the winner. So we kind of met through that, and yeah, again, he's been there for sort of to celebrate the good times with me. He's also been there to kind of pick me up in the low times as well. So I think in terms of the referee family, those 2 really stick out for me as people that have really sort of been a big part for me to be where I am today.
And if you could go back in time, what advice would you give yourself when you started?
I think just kind of take the pressure off. I think people say it all the time that there's enough pressure on referees anyway, from players, from media, like social media, obviously a huge thing now, from cameras, from supporters and things like that. So I think if you then put the pressure on yourself, you're just adding to that. So I think for me, it's trying to remind myself, and I wish I kind of knew that 7 years ago, or let's say within the last maybe 6 years, because I've really tried to do it this year, is just remind myself it is a game of football. And don't get me wrong, if a decision goes against my team or my team wins a big tournament or whatever it might be, I do think it's huge and it's massive. So, you understand that level, but there are bigger things in life, and I think that's what I try and remind myself is, I go on that pitch and give a decision. It's the decision that I think's right at that time. So if I come away and it's not correct, I've not done it on purpose or whatever it may be. So just try and take that pressure off yourself and enjoy it, because I guess if you don't, why bother doing it?